Hey everybody, Economic Ninja here. I hope you're doing well. I want to talk about the Federal Reserve and how you have 13 weeks till you really see things come falling apart. Now, with that being said, I still believe the first week of October you're going to see fireworks fly, but we're going to talk primarily about the federal funds rate, the Federal Reserve's Fed rate. We're going to talk about mortgages, what they're going to do, and then look at what's going on in the market. Now, the top line, the top story in CBC is the Fed declines to hike rates, but points to rates staying higher for longer. And what they're signaling to the market is that you're going to keep feeling pain and they're going to ratchet it up in 2024. That this lowering signal cycle is not going to happen like so many people anticipated and wanted. Now, I've been on record for the last 8 weeks saying that I believe that they were going to pause in September. And the reason why is because they need to figure out a way for companies to have a little bit of a reprieve so that their quarterly earnings don't look just horrific, right? Because of borrowing costs. We know that August CPI numbers came in red hot because of energy, and it's not stopping. I just saw $7 a gallon diesel in California today, this morning. And I believe we're going to see $8 here in the next handful of weeks. This is well out of the realm of seasonality adjustments. We are moving into hyperinflation. And anybody that thinks that the Fed has done enough and that this pause is a good thing, it's not. As a matter of fact, it's just not only delaying the inevitable, it actually compounds the problem. When you go 30 days without a rate hike, you have irrational exuberance. And I'll show you exactly right here. So you've got oil down, but down to still above $90 a barrel. The 10-year bond is down a little bit nominally. Gold's up and silver's up, which I don't expect that to stay because remember what happened in June when they paused there, right? The exact same reaction. Wall Street sort of rallied, they're excited, but it didn't last long. And then bond yields started moving even higher over the next handful of weeks. Why? Because the inevitable was going to come out, that inflation has not stopped. And it's going to get worse. And if you're not preparing for this, I don't know what to tell you. I would be buying food right now because I think this is going to get nutty. Let's do this. Let's move to a news story out of Zero Hedge. And I think it's really important because it just gives the basic overview of what we're dealing with today as the Federal Reserve has paused. It says here, this is the story title, FOMC leaves rates unchanged, signals much more hawkish 2024. So we've now went from the doves were kind of come out in 2024, the rates were going to start lowering. That's not the case. Here we go. So rates unchanged, but hawkish than expected forecast for rates, but the same time signaled a soft landing with higher growth forecasts. I do not believe you're going to see a soft landing. Remember, the Federal Reserve has not dealt with inflation like this since the early 80s, late 70s. This is very serious. They are messing with a monetary time bomb. And if you add in the reality that the BRICS nations wants us extinct, they want the dollar gone, and that countries left and right are bailing on the US dollar. They are doing business in their own currencies or the yuan. This is a very serious time. All right. Now it says here the dot plot of rate projections shows policymakers still foresee one more hike this year. Now, here, let me stop there too. I believe that is not going to be the case. I believe we're going to have at least 2 hikes throughout this year, in October for sure, and then we're going to have one in November or December. Because think about this, we had red hot inflation, CPI. It came out of the blue. It was a surprise. Well, especially since they're not raising rates this month, what's going to tamp that down? What's going to tame it, right? We're now seeing double-digit growth in refinances right now. Now, albeit it's still historically low, but that shows that whoever is refinancing their homes right now, they're doing it at a higher rate and they're pulling money out because they're broke. All right. It says 12 of 19 policymakers on the FOMC expect one more rate hike this year. To be appropriate, the remaining 7 favor holding rates steady. I want to tell you right now that is straight up propaganda. They all know what's going to come. This is very easy. But if they told you, oh no, we're going to be raising multiple times, they're going to have a problem. Let me do something real quick. Make sure. My point being is this: we are in a position where we are being lied to, and there's propaganda out there because people are turning around and they're trying to do damage control. The banks are crashing. Commercial mortgage-backed securities are failing left and right. As bond rates go up, banks that are holding those bonds to maturity are losing more on paper, which means it makes their cash position weaker, right? Their liquidity worse, and they're having a liquidity crisis. So there's nowhere really than going down. Now it says here the median projection for economic growth in 2023 jumps to 2.1% from 1% in June. Do you really believe that? Do you believe that the median projection for economic growth just went up by 100%? How can it go up 100%? How can we get more growth when interest rates are higher, when fuel is higher, when everything that it takes to do business and live right now is more expensive, while we're going through an insurance catastrophe around the nation? Absolutely blows my mind. This is propaganda at its best form. And whoever drinks this Kool-Aid, I got to be honest with you, is pretty nuts. Statement repeats prior language saying officials are considering the extent of additional policy firming that may be appropriate. See, don't you love that too? Like, oh yeah, we're data driven. Well, no, duh. No, duh. The Fed acknowledges job gains have slowed, but says they remain strong. But what kind of jobs? Are we talking about full-time jobs with benefits? Or are we talking about part-time jobs? I believe it is the latter. Growth forecasts were marked up quite substantially this year and next. Headline inflation was adjusted slightly higher in 2023 and 2025, with core marked lower this year, but up a bit in 2025. I just talked to a buddy that I know that listed his house for sale a couple weeks ago, and I said, "How are things going?" And he's a house flipper, and he's in Southern California. He's like, "You know what? We got a really good market here." And I'm like, "Okay, any offers?" "Nope." "How many people come through?" "5." And I'm like, "Well," he's all, "I feel pretty confident we'll sell it." I'm like, "But it's been a couple weeks and you haven't had any offers, even out of the 5." And I think people are very delusional when it comes to the turning of a cycle. As a matter of fact, most people I know in real estate did not live through the run up to 2006. And it's very important that people know what it's like, because this isn't like it. It's worse. It is worse than what we saw in 2006. And which is exciting for me because I want to go crush it and buy a ton of homes super cheap. I can't get over. I did a video earlier about Airbnb and VRBOs, and I look at all the people that I know that bought 5, 6, 10 of these homes, and they can't rent them now. And hotels are dropping their price. You want to say opportunity? Wait till you see what happens in 2024. And really understand too that this election cycle, the powers that be want to put you into fear, right? Put you into a position where you can't even vote in person. That would probably be the worst thing in the world. So there's got to be some calamity, some catastrophe. And if you think about it, if we had anything similar to what happened in 2020, can you imagine what's going to happen to precious metal valuation? This is absolutely mind-blowing. It says here, since the last FOMC statement and press conference on July 26th, the dollar has soared, but Bitcoin and bonds have been battered lower in price, with gold and stocks basically unchanged. Again, I cannot get over how well silver and gold have held up in this market. It says additionally, the Fed, thank you, Constitutional Stacker. Additionally, the Fed's jawboning of higher for longer is increasingly becoming accepted by the rates market, as the SOFR spreads for December 23 to 24 and 23 to 25 have surged since the last FOMC meeting. So what happens? Think about it. They are saying they're going to keep rates stronger for longer, right? So what's going to happen to the bond yields? They're going to keep inching up. They're going to go, okay, we're in this rate cycle, so we're going to keep inching up. So what's that going to happen? What's that going to do to growth forecasts for corporations? Think about, corporations are tidying up their third quarter earnings right now, right? They're going to start releasing those earnings in what's it called? The first couple weeks of October. So what is their verbiage going to be like? It's not going to be good. They're going to talk about a challenging environment, and then they're going to talk about their forward-looking statements. They're looking at a Federal Reserve that is going to keep ratcheting the pressure up on them. We're seeing corporate bonds. The rates on these are insane. Who is borrowing at these rates? How can these companies stay alive? We're seeing more and more bankruptcies. We have a situation where Country Garden, we have Evergrande from China, they're declaring bankruptcy and they're saying, oh yeah, thank you so much, Constitutional Stacker, for the super chats. They're in a situation where they're going, okay, what we're doing is we're going to sit there and claim bankruptcy. So we put everything on pause for you and US investors while we pay whoever we can in another country first. Think about those ripple effects. Look at Germany moving into a recession. Remember, Germany took down Europe in 2005, and those ripples took us down by 2006, 2007. Think about that. So we have multiple headwinds coming right now. And then when I talked about in the title that you've got about 13 weeks, it's because the official recession will be announced. You will see Q3 numbers show a negative GDP. You will see really bad things coming out in the first 2 weeks of October through these corporate earnings. You will see a ton of bankruptcy filings by the second week of October. Then you wait for the next one. Now, the White House has already done a pretty good job about lying about the recession by simply changing the narrative, the definition of recession. I can't believe how many economists believe this, but most economists that go to college today are spoon-fed total crap. They don't know basic economics. And how many people are going to be at the whim of this? How many people are going to be strung out to dry? Thank you so much, Super Amazing Mom, for the super chat. How many of you are getting ready for a real estate crash? How many of you have been a part of 2008, but not just your own home? You saw the headwinds and you're like, oh, my gut feeling. And how many of you have that same gut feeling right now? This is exciting. This is the most exciting thing I've ever been a part of, especially because I'm part of you. I get to help and show you how this has been going on inch by inch. And now the Federal Reserve is saying, we're going to ratchet it up even more. And think about those precious metals prices. They're doing well. It's blowing my way because precious metals take off when all of a sudden they start. Thanks, Constitutional Stacker keeps giving these super chats. You turn around and you know that when they start to lower rates and then the money printers start, that's when gold and silver take off. I can't believe that they're not being battered worse than what they are now. So I think that there's only blue skies ahead of every single person that's getting ready. I would keep stacking food. Get yourself 6 months and a year of supplies together. Why not? Because remember, and hey, you might as well shop the sales right now. Get some toilet paper now and stock up. Why not have a year's supply of toilet paper? And you know why? Is because when the hyperinflation sets in, because the Fed's doing this and they're teetering this out and they're making it look like it's not their fault. They're 100% at fault. They are the policymakers. They move and mess with the interest rate. There's not a free market right now. And they've broke the system. They know it. They planned it because they want a full-blown digital currency and your cash gone. And that's going to take a few years to roll out. But why not start a good old-fashioned economic barn burner so that the first 10%, 15% of people come begging for digital cash and they grab it? We've already got the banks moving in it. We've got other countries moving in it. This is a global event. And so I want people with heads on swivels, because if you lose your wealth and the middle class loses the wealth, we've lost the nation. We need to make the middle class rich again. Put that on a red hat and sew it and wear it. We need the middle class rich again. All right, that being said, thank you so much. There's 4 more links for today for the real estate crash course for $250. Remember, next week, there is a new course coming out, and everybody that's in that first course gets it for free. All right, that being said, the Economic Ninja is out.